station.
Welcome back. Well, I'm joined now by Dr. Robert Reynolds, and we turn to him always for his expertise on things like attention deficit disorders, learning disabilities, and behavioral disorders. Today he's actually sharing the answers to the questions he gets asked most frequently. Thank you, Doctor, for being here.
Thanks again, Karen.
Kind of the questions that we're hearing from our audience. Number one, when I was young, I never even heard of ADHD. Why are so many children being diagnosed with it these days?
Well, there's a number of reasons. The first is we've become much more sophisticated in our awareness of this. When I was young, the diagnosis didn't exist, and we called those kids weird or different. They were also often labeled as troublemakers and punished. Now we understand that a lot of those behaviors were beyond their control, and now we're trying a different approach, which is how do we help them to manage that behavior. So diagnostic procedures have gotten better. I also think kids are under a lot more stress nowadays. And finally, there's a lot less structure to kids' lives now. When I grew up, my mother stayed at home and raised the kids, and nowadays both parents are working and kids are in daycare. So there's a lot of, let's say, less structure that children then are let's say, free to behave in ways that maybe you and I wouldn't have growing up.
Well, and good points. And then question two, how do I know, though, this is a big question for most parents, if my child's behavior falls within what's considered to be normal, kids being kids, or something more serious needing professional help? Because we've all seen our kids be troublemakers sometimes.
Well, that's true. And this is probably the most common question I get. And the first thing I say is that, is there a significant disruption in your child's performance at school and behavior at home? And if there is, rather than try to figure it out yourself, consult with your child's pediatrician. They're very familiar with these kinds of issues. Many parents come to them. They have questionnaires, actually, that they will have the parents fill out, as well as the teachers, to give a rough idea if there's a problem beyond what is normal. And if they see it, they oftentimes refer out to mental health practices, much like my clinic.
Okay, and question number three, I'm getting calls and emails from my child's teacher because of his behavior in class. He requires a lot of redirection and can sometimes be disruptive. I don't think he means to cause trouble, but his grades are now suffering, and he's starting to say he hates school. Big problem for parents.
And those are huge red flags, and that's something that should be addressed sooner than later. The first thing I advise parents to do is to ask to have an informal meeting with your child's teachers. If beyond that, the situation is serious enough, you can actually call a meeting. It's called a PPT meeting. It's a meeting that goes on between the parents and the teachers, in which everybody comes together to try to figure out what's going on and what we can do to solve the problem. Sometimes these meetings can become quite complicated. If it gets to that point, I encourage parents to contact professionals like people at my clinic who will actually go to these meetings on behalf of the parents to help make sure that their child is getting what their child needs.
Because there are laws between an IEP or a 504 plan even.
It's
might
very
just be like,
complicated.
Hey, he needs to sit up front, or he needs to have a weighted blanket, or something like that you can actually work on, that the people don't realize that those are available to them.
Yes.
Number four, my child can't seem to get off his computer even when I ask him multiple times. I get so angry sometimes that I grab it from him. We've all been there, which just sets him off and makes the situation worse. What do I do? I don't know what else to do. How can I handle this better? Should you not just grab it away and say you're done?
Well, often that leads to bigger problems, unfortunately. Sometimes parents just say, well, I'm done with it. You're never going to have a laptop again. You're never going to be on a tablet again. And I think that's really the wrong message, because that's not reality. Kids nowadays, it's part of their lives. What we need to be able to do is to help them learn to manage their computer time. And if it's a power struggle every time, it's going to lead to frustration on everybody's part, and it's going to lead to a whole lot of unhappiness. What we teach parents at my clinic is what we call computer etiquette, reinforcing children when they manage their computer time appropriately. I don't believe a child, particularly on a school day, should be online on a computer any more than an hour a day. But what the child does and what time that child is doing it ought to be a negotiation. But when the time is up and the child does not turn the computer in on time because, Mom, I'm almost done. I got to finish. I'll lose all these points.
So you want to set the limits. I want to make sure we get to your last question, but my child's behavior has gotten so out of control, I'm considering having to put him on medication. In fact, his doctor wants me to do it, recommending it. Is there anything else I can try?
I can tell you, Kara, most children can be helped without having to go the medication route. For example, many parents don't know or don't have the skills that they need to manage a child who's got these issues. We teach parents skills that they need. We also do computer training to teach children how to manage that activity. We call it EEG neurofeedback training.
We're going to have all that information for you because next week Dr. Reynold is holding free seminars where you can learn a lot more about this and his approaches for ADHD. That's Wednesday evening, June 15th at 6:30 at the Middletown facility. If the weekend's better for you, he's offering a seminar Saturday morning, June 18th, starting at 9 a.m. Thank you so much, Doctor.
Thanks,
Scott?
man.
All right,